Well, hello, folks, and welcome to a video. I thought I was recording when I came back from using facilities, but I didn't hit record properly. So, I am going to rehash the video. Hello, it's about 11. I started recording this about 11:25 a.m. It's now 11:40, but I'm not going to be here for long. I'm going to be here for about 15 minutes or so. Just wanted to talk about some racing that happened. So a couple of big races happened. IMSA, 6 Hours of the Glen, IndyCar at Laguna Seca, Spanish Grand Prix, and NASCAR at Loudon. So for the 301, for the 301. For the Magic Mile at 301. So I'm going to start with NASCAR first because everybody's like, oh, it's NASCAR. You know, you were in NASCAR country, and everybody's like, oh, you're going to start with that because you were in NASCAR country last weekend. I was in NASCAR country because I was literally staying 2 hours away from or 2.5 hours away from 3 tracks in Virginia. So I didn't watch a lot of the Cup race. I watched maybe about 100 laps of the Cup race. And it got red flagged it started raining really good, and it started raining around thunder and lightning, severe weather around lap 218, and then they red flagged it. They were red flagged for maybe about an hour and a half. Then they started to use rain tires on the track because it wasn't completely drying, which was crazy because NASCAR wouldn't let them change races. Christopher Bell for Toyota ended up winning again. So kind of a boring race after they red flagged it. Put them on rain tires for all 80 laps. And they only let them change with 10 to go. Then they had overtime. He ended up winning. So, yeah. And then there was the Spanish Grand Prix, which, surprise, surprise, was competitive. Lando Norris seems to really be Verstappen's main competitor right now because Mercedes can't be bothered to do anything. And the Ferraris, well, they've been competing, but they really haven't been showing their true colors yet. I'm hoping Ferrari helps McLaren overcome Verstappen at some point. We only have I think another 10 maybe 16 races to go, and the 16 races to go. So hopefully they can do something. It's good that it's this close early in the season. I think Norris is only 69 points behind Verstappen, which is a lot. It's a lot to overcome, but Verstappen. But if Norris can stay consistent throughout the whole season, he can start eating into that lead a little bit. Into that lead, and hopefully Verstappen has some trouble because he's had some trouble. The RB20 has starting to kind of show its chinks in its reliability armor a little bit here and there, but I didn't watch the whole race. I watched maybe 40 laps. Um, and I then the IndyCar race, I watched about 40 laps. I watched maybe the last 10, and then Alex Palou ended up winning the race. It's kind of boring, or somebody else would win, but he's not leading the championship. Penske kind of had a horrible day in IndyCar and NASCAR, but I'll get to the crown jewel in a minute. Then the rain. Then there was the rain, changing condition fest of the 6 hours of the Glen. So um, so and I watched the whole race. Give or take maybe half an hour while they red flagged it. So kind of spoiler right there. Yeah, rain affected 2 races in the Northeast. Kind of weird, but so I started watching the race at about 11:05. Green flag was about 11:10. Clean start, great weather. The rain really didn't start popping up, and there was some great racing. The Acura ARX-06s were really strong in the beginning. But Cadillac seemed to have an upper hand early on. They seemed to do really good, and then they fell back. The BMWs were kind of nowhere to be seen, but it was the Penske Porsches that were crawling around the lead or up in the top 5 for the longest time. There may have been a spin or two or something happening that set them back, and they had a brief rain shower maybe at 1:30. Lasted for about half an hour. And then I'm going to say around maybe 2 hours, 2.5, maybe about an hour and 45 minutes from the end. I'm going to say, yeah, about 2 hours from the end. They ended up having a torrential downpour. They red flagged it for like 45 minutes. But what was hilarious was USA Network was holding the race till 2 o'clock, and then they had to switch over to Cup coverage because I think the Cup was trying to get their race in before the wet weather came in. So, and then you had to switch over to Peacock. Thank God I had Peacock on my PS4 so I could watch it. After I resumed, I waited half an hour because I spent the first like half an hour watching, like half an hour, 45 minutes watching the Cup coverage, and the laps kind of goes back, and then I went back upstairs, watched it. And then I watched the monsoon of a rainstorm come through at Watkins Glen. They red flagged it, I said, for 45 minutes. And then they started going. It was too wet. They were under caution a couple of times to let the car. And then eventually the weather, well, after the caution happened, the sun popped out. It started drying. And then we got some very good racing. So it was a race between the number 40 Acura. The number 10 ended up losing the wheel because one of the guys, because during one of the pit stops, during the red flag period, one of the tires on the 10 really wasn't secured well enough. Well, after they got back to the green flag conditions, they put the tire on, they didn't put the wheel on, so that they put on a flatbed. And that set up the race for the last 20 minutes. Holy moly. So the 40 Acura and the 7 Penske Porsche 963 of Felipe Nasr had a titanic battle. They got so close so many times, and I think it was just not, I think the Acura just didn't have the tires. When they went back racing, and they had a couple of cautions because cars slid off and because the marbles were a little different. But the Penske Porsche just picked its, and he used a GT car. Watch the broadcast when it goes up on IMSA's website. He uses this Ferrari, or I think it was either Ferrari or McLaren. I think he used the McLaren to pick around this Acura and just throws it on in there, goes around the outside. And I was cheering because I wanted Penske to win after they got their tech infringement last year. Thank God. Fingers crossed. I was fingers crossed that they wouldn't have a tech infringement this year. They gave the win to BMW. Boo. So that ended up happening. Penske ended up surviving the last 10 minutes. It was kind of nail biting. The ARX kind of fell behind. After that. I remember one of the Cadillacs coming through, and then one of the other Porsches finishing third. The ARX ended up finishing sixth, and I think there was a Lamborghini in there for the S63, but ended up retiring due to cooling issues, like 2 hours to go, which is kind of boring. LMP2 was kind of boring. I didn't really watch that class. It's just a bunch of Oraca 07s with Gibson engines with a 560 horsepower. It's kind of boring. I forget who won. Was it CrowdStrike? I can't remember. I think it might have been CrowdStrike or something like that. I can't remember. GTD Pro ended up being interesting. That was the class that got hit most by the rainstorms that came in. The Risi Ferrari ended up getting affected. One of the Iron Lynx Lamborghinis ended up really horribly, and Corvette ended up doing very well. They were up in the lead the last 4 minutes to go, and then they had to go for a splash and dash. Handed the lead to Aston Martin. Aston Martin got the victory for their new V Advantage Evo, which was great. Corvette got third, so they got a podium. And I think what's else? I forget who won GTD because I'm actually was it Lexus? Yeah, I think it was Lexus actually. I think it was the number 12 or something, or one of the Mercedes. I can't remember. So yeah, it was an interesting 6-hour weekend. 6 hours with the Glen. This weekend, on Saturday and Sunday, the CrowdStrike 24 hours of Spa will be on the menu. I hope you guys are right for that. I'm not going to cover that because I've already covered the track on my 6 hours of spa. 6 hours of spa. Kind of 6 hours of spa. Kind of intro, so I really don't need to do that. I may give updates during the race because I don't know who I'm going to be cheering for because, well, I don't think I have anybody to cheer for really because I don't think there's any Corvettes, but maybe a Ferrari or a Lamborghini will win, or maybe WRT, who's been very strong in IMSA competition and, well, not IMSA competition, but in World Endurance competition. Hopefully they win. So, don't really know who I'm going to be cheering for, but so yeah, I will pick this up again tomorrow night, and I hope you guys enjoy your Monday. I will be back very soon. It's almost 12 o'clock because I misplaced recording play on this recording. All right, guys, see you later. I hope you guys enjoyed this racing coverage, and had a good weekend and a good trip, and it's back to business tomorrow. Have a good day, folks.